Before we wrap it up here, I want to get to the Democrats and sort of talk about your thoughts and our collective thoughts there. But obviously, on the Democratic side, we have Hillary Clinton, clear front runner, probably going to be a coronation. But interestingly, we have Bernie Sanders, who's a self-avowed socialist who now in some key states is running really head to head with her. And what they've done recently too is they've pushed out their debate 10 or 11 weeks. So.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
Is that
just kind of came out this morning.
Or did they do that as soon as Schumer voted the other way?
I think it just came out this morning.
Schumer voted. Did you see that this morning? Schumer voted the other way on Iran.
Oh, okay. There you go. So that's interesting. But so clearly what Hillary's doing is trying to stay in the limelight. Just sort of get to the finish line and win the nomination. But
right.
You have she's slowly kind of getting attacked from both sides, and I'd just be curious what you think. How do you think that's going to play out?
I think your time post college, we've worked together building the business. I mean, my time post college, I actually started to learn something. I read a book every 10 days. I mean, to a fault. What I've learned is that I don't know anything every time I read another book. I mean, but history would teach you that if you look at the long-term history of, let's say the last century, the last century, particularly in this country and in Europe, you go to the extremes at some point. And because people are so dissatisfied, there's a zeitgeist of unhappiness, even though the media that is puppeted by the politicians is telling you it's good. There's a zeitgeist of anger and disgust with that because they feel that they're lying to them. So I think that gives birth to the hard right and to the hard left. And I think that that's why Bernie Sanders has a huge population of unhappy and poor and struggling people, where he's saying, look, Hillary's not socialist enough. I am.
Yeah.
And then you got Trump
on the right. Yeah.
On the right, who's actually not. He's not. I'd like to actually see somebody who understands the hard right. Go hard right. Yeah. You're seeing that in Europe. You're seeing this in Europe. But this is why those voices become popular. It's only in certain parts of history. Yeah. It wasn't in the 1990s when everyone's happy and you have the biggest spending and population growth boom in world history, not in the U.S., but in China, in Europe, even Japan was just about to go into negative population growth. This is a very different time. And I think it's not different this time. It's different because it's just different than the most recent 2 decades. If you look at the last 100 years, it's not different at all. It's not different this time.
Yeah.
And this is the point, actually, that a lot of guys make on the deflation of, call it the 1927 to 1933 period. Very few people knew how to invest in, because deflation is just such a infrequent economic animal. Like in fractal math, you'd probably call it a fractal because it just appears so infrequently and it's so hard to pinpoint. But deflation. I mean, John Maynard Keynes lost 90% of his net wealth by being long commodities, so he became a politician. I mean, this is what happened throughout that period, where inflation expectations just started to plummet, and there really was no wage inflation. I mean, sound familiar? And it gave rise in Europe to these voices. This is what scares me. I mean, in many regards, but it also excites me because I think that it gives us an opportunity to teach people. There was a lot of talk this weekend about I forget which major media channel it was. Probably you could probably guess. But they were asking like the most devout. Oh, it's Chris Matthews. Yep. Chris Matthews, who's like the most devout Democrat and the lover of everything Obama, was asking, I think it was the head of the DNC, what the difference between a Democrat and a socialist was.
Yep.
And she didn't know the answer. Like people don't know economic history. They don't know. They don't know. And I don't know, but I know a hell of a lot more than they know. I mean, that's what scares me, but it also excites me because again, I think that it gives us an opportunity to teach people. It gives the country an opportunity to change. And if we're able to do that, I don't want to sound speechy, but again, that's what I think about every day. I'm waiting for somebody to articulate that.
Well, I think the one thing we can say for sure is there are no socialists at Hedgeye. So.